Hello. This is Jonathan, and you're listening to the Johnny Talks podcast, the place where we help you achieve your financial goals. Hello, friends. Hope you're having a great day wherever you are, whether that's in Toronto, Lisbon, or Antwerp, Belgium. And if you're a new listener to the show, I wanted to give you a special welcome to the podcast, and I wanted to thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. In today's episode, we will speak to my friend Sandy Young, whom I met at FinCon. Her book, The Money Master: Inside Secrets on How to Make Your Money Grow and Stay Safe, is currently being printed and will be released in early 2020. And in this episode, we will discuss a few themes that are covered in the book with special attention to investing in the stock market. We will dispel some common myths around investing in the stock market, such as, should you follow the financial news every day? Should you buy in the latest hot stocks such as Tesla, Netflix, Amazon? Sandy will also explain some fundamental concepts, help you not overpay in fees, etc. In short, she will guide you to become more comfortable with the idea of getting started in the stock markets. And it is true, it might look scary and complicated from the outside, but as you will see, it is not. We also discuss the more controversial subject of investing in cannabis stocks. Along with that as well, we will discuss Sandy's real estate investing experience so far. And last but not least, we will go through Sandy's personal finance journey and the money lessons she learned growing up. This episode is for you if you're interested in getting into the stock market but have not taken the plunge just yet because of what you have heard around you or seen in the media, between brackets, the common myth. And regarding Sandy's book, make sure you stay until the end of the conversation, as Sandy may have something interesting in store for you. Just a last note before we head on to the interview, please note that whatever we discuss, it is not financial advice, even though we might both seem excited about talking investments and stock markets. And with that out of the way, let's hear what Sandy has to tell us. Hello, Sandy. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Jonathan. How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Excited to have you here on the show because I met you at FinCon and you were presenting your book, which we will discuss about later on in the show. And what I wanted to discuss with you is to do-it-yourself investments for millennials, because you've been experienced with that for about 10 years, I think.
Mm-hmm, that's right. Yes.
But it started with your story where you invested your savings in mutual funds. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So for the listeners who don't know me, for myself, I graduated in 2009 from a business school right in the middle of the economic recession. And I was fortunate enough to land a conference planning job within the hospitality and tourism industry. And I knew right away from graduation that I had to pay off my tuition and start putting aside my hard-earned money. And I knew that I had to start investing. For me, just like most people, I went to one of the big banks here in Canada and I put all my trust and faith into one of the financial reps at the bank. Mm-hmm. And they had told me, they're like, hey, this oil and gas mutual fund is doing really well. You should put all your money there. And I didn't know any better. So I was like, okay, sure. Why not? Not knowing at the time that it had high hidden fees and it was very high risk. And the first couple months I did very well. And then shortly after that, I started losing thousands of dollars. And I was like, what's going on? And I was so upset. And from there, a friend of mine recommended me to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And that was my first book that I read in the personal finance realm. And that immediately got me hooked to reading more about personal finance and investing books and to take matters into my own hands to do self-directed investing.
Mm-hmm. And you said you studied business. You were a graduate as in finance or accounting or?
I have a bachelor's of commerce degree from hospitality and tourism management.
Okay. Just wanted to know because I graduated from. I have a master's in finance.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Yes, and the thing is, even though I had this degree, we learned a lot of things: accounting, economics, marketing principles, how to help other companies make money, but not to make money on your own. Like how to how to invest in the stock markets yourself, not how to manage your own finance, which is kind of odd, but okay, it's like this. Okay, but you get the tools to accelerate your knowledge, but a proper course in personal finance that was not there. So that's a little funny, you know, when you think of it, when you have a commercial studies and you don't learn this.
Yeah, same here. Exact same boat where they teach you about corporate finance, but not about personal finance.
Yeah, exactly. Then, so you back to your story. You go then to this mutual fund. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and a new world opens to you.
Yes, it did. It definitely did because we didn't learn it in school. I took the initiative to start reading personal finance books and blogs and just going to the library and just learning as much as I could in order to set myself up for the next 45 years of my working career to make sure that I was on the right track, because I knew from like early on I just started losing money. And when you're not earning that much in the hospitality industry and you're putting in overtime hours and not getting paid overtime, like every dollar really matters. And when you're losing that hard earned money, like emotionally for me, like it was a roller coaster ride, and I was just so disappointed and so frustrated. So I definitely wanted to turn that around.
Yeah, I understand. So is it by reading Rich Dad Poor Dad that you then started to do the do-it-yourself investing?
It definitely took a bit of time. It wasn't like an overnight thing. I did spend quite some time reading personal finance books and just doing the research and making sure that I was setting myself up properly. So there are definitely some like step-by-steps things that I had to do in order to even get to the point of investing, like making sure that I set up a budget, making sure that I'm saving and setting aside money from each paycheck, or automate my savings and keeping track of everything and reviewing my finances on a weekly or monthly basis. So it was there when I had the stepping stones, and then gradually when I had enough money set aside, I looked into different online brokerages and did the research there to see which one was the best suited for me. And then I made the switch to take all my money out of mutual funds and then do self-directed investing. But it did take probably good, several months, if not a year or so, just to make that full transition. But I mean, nowadays technology, they're making it easier and easier for consumers to set up online brokerages in a few minutes. But you definitely want to do the preparation and making sure that you have a diversified portfolio and you understand your risk tolerance, things like that, in order to jump into self-directed investing, because it isn't for everyone, and there's definitely other ways to invest. But for me, that was my chosen path that I thought was good for me.
Yeah, excellent. And when you say self-directed investment, what do you mean by that? Is it that you choose yourself what you want to invest in, whether that's an index fund or an individual stock?
Yeah, so I would categorize investing into kind of three major buckets. First, you have self-directed investing, where you do everything yourself. You have your own online brokerage, and you're basically cutting out the middleman, and it's the most cost-effective way to do investing. But well, I wouldn't say it's a downside, but it does take time to learn how to set up your own investment portfolio, and you have to put all your emotions in check and make sure that you are following your path. Now, there's also the second bucket where you can go with a financial planner, financial advisor, a professional who can guide you through the steps. They can review your entire financial plan, your goals, and they can help guide you along the way. And the benefits of that is that they can make sure that you're not making the mistakes if you were to do it your own. But then you are paying for their service and their time. So it will be, you will have to pay, say, annual fees. Then the other option, which is kind of coming to the market the past couple of years, is robo advisor investing. And this is where you have the hybrid of technology and human touch, and you combine it together, where you can fill out an online questionnaire and it will recommend a portfolio for you, and it can help to manage your portfolio based on these technological algorithms. So there's also that as well. So you really have to take the time to think about which one is right for you, and there's pros and cons to each one.
Mm-hmm. And just before we go deeper in the details of investing itself, just want to circle back to the mutual fund story, because you say, look, I went to the bank, I got advised this oil and gas mutual fund that lost, and I lost all my money. What was the change? That because you invest in the stock markets in a way, and then 1 year later, okay, you read the books, you get educated, and you try your luck again, I would say. How come you were not afraid? Maybe you could have gone into real estate or another investment type, but you chose to go back to the stock markets. How come you managed to overcome that fear, I would say?
Yeah, for me, I would say that I took calculated risks, right? And being able to arm myself with the knowledge based on these personal finance experts from Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, David Bach, Susie Orman, like there's so many of them out there. And I was able to collect all of their wisdom and expertise and create my own portfolio, find the right brokerage. And because I was more educated, I felt that I was comfortable enough to start self-directed investing. But I definitely understand for people out there, it's very common to feel intimidated or feel overwhelmed when it comes to stock market investing, because let's face it, big companies out there, they want to make it seem complicated, so you can hire a financial advisor, pay for their services. But in reality, once you know the basics, it's very simple and easy to set it up and to manage over the year. So for me, I felt like because I had lost money and I felt that pain, that I just wanted to prove to myself that I could be successful with it, and to know that it's okay to make mistakes. I mean, I still make mistakes all the time, and that's just a part of being human, right?
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I mean, it's okay. Like, it's totally normal to go through those mistakes, and that's where you learn from it and get better at it each time. So I would say that it's don't let fear get in the way and stop you from achieving financial success, because in order for people to retire these days, investing is so crucial. Like it really is an important pillar to reach your financial goals and those milestones in life. So, if you really want it, you'll find a way to figure it out and to get there.
Yeah, and when I tell my network in general, I say, yeah, I invest in stocks, I invest in this and that, and it will help me later on to accumulate some wealth, to protect me, and to just to go around financially, to feel financially secure. So it's one of the pillars I'm working on, or I'm investing in regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the response I get is mostly, people, okay, they get it, etc., and then they ask more detailed questions. But the reaction I often get is indeed, but the stock markets, it's so risky. Maybe I need to track it every day. I'm like, no, you just need to follow it. Of course, you need to follow it, but not every day. You don't need to follow the news every day. You don't need to read about it every day. Make your research, and then, okay, track it every 3 months, 6 months, or a year, depending on, maybe in the start you want to track it a bit more frequently. But in the long run, you can just space out your checks. You can do it every 3 months, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really like people really, they have this ideas like you see in the movies, the Wolf of Wall Street or whatnot, that, it's a dynamic market. It's people are calling and they make trades all day. So people confuse investing and trading as well. So, just because of the movies and the headlines in the newspaper. So what do you say to the people that have those fears, which are common, which are understandable? How do they need to overcome this fear? By reading, by educating themselves, as you did?
Yeah, so I definitely I actually quite enjoyed watching The Wolf of Wall Street, even though it was kind of sad. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. I do talk to friends, and even lately, they're like, "Hey, Sandy, like, I want to take this investing course and learn what are the hottest stocks." And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, you just sound like you want to be a day trader, which I mean, by all means, if that's what you want to do, sure. But I mean, it can be extremely hard and very time consuming. And for myself, like I like to think that I'm a lazy investor. And one of my favorite blogs is called The Canadian Couch Potato by Dan Bortolotti. And that's where I learned how to do the lazy way of investing, and that's with either investing in index funds or exchange rated funds, or known as ETFs, and just being able to diversify your portfolio, and you can buy the entire stock market these days, or the whole entire world, and just set it and forget it, in a sense. So, do you really need to figure out all the hottest stocks? I don't think so. And I think it also comes down to like human psychology and the ego, because I find that when I talk to some of my friends and colleagues, it's almost as if it's like gambling to them, or they think that they can beat the market, and studies show time and time again, like, I mean, either like half the people will beat the markets and the other half will fail. So why not just follow the market? And like how you and I were just talking before, that even to have a 6 to 8% interest rate, like year after year, like growth, that's really, really good. And any better than that, I mean, that's just icing on the cake. So it really doesn't have to be that complicated, and you can easily figure out what your risk tolerance is, and have portfolio recommendations. And I would just say, like, yeah, buy the whole entire market, diversify. You don't have to pick and choose individual stocks. You can leave it up to the Warren Buffetts of the world to do that, and you can still be very successful with an average market return.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 to 8%. To me, it's already fantastic. I mean, if you can manage that, with an 8%, you can double your investment in 9 years, based on the rule of 72. So imagine if you do that over 20, 30, 40 years, then you're set up for a great success financially without too much effort, the lazy way, as you're... and that's what I like about it. It's just relying on the effect of compound interest. But Sandy, and then you started to invest yourself. How are you, for example, investing? Do you allocate your stock portfolio mostly in ETFs and index funds, or do you do as well? Do you also invest in individual stocks?
For myself, my portfolio consists of ETFs, exchange traded funds. Although my husband invests in index funds, but I mean they're pretty similar. They're not quite the same, but they are very similar. And for myself, I don't invest in individual companies. Like the only closest one would be the Berkshire Hathaway BRK.B from Warren Buffett, where he chooses which companies he likes to invest in. That would be like the only stock that I currently invest in. But for myself, I just think that it's important to have a good balance of, global funds, whether Canadian, U.S., international funds, a mix of stocks and bonds, because stocks generate, you typically generate higher interest, but then the bonds are what gives you the stability in times of recession.
Correct.
And you can also have a mix of different sectors like financials, technology, cannabis, to real estate, gold, minerals, whatnot. So there's all these different industries you can choose from, but I think that it's important to have your eggs in many baskets. And that way, no matter if the market's going up and down, like, you still can sleep at night. Whereas you put all your eggs in one basket, say if you only invest in cannabis or only invest in cryptocurrency, then you can be putting yourself in very high risk, and you could be losing money overnight. So you really have to understand, like, how much are you willing to lose, because markets they do fluctuate. So I think it's important to know how much you're willing to lose, and to think long term as well. For myself, I think about the long term passive investing approach, whereas some people might be more the active day trading approach. And there's no right or wrong answer, and people can still make money both ways. But from the many experts that I've been following for the past decade, they tend to favor the long term passive investing approach.
Yeah. And just for the listeners, Sandy, could you explain briefly what's the difference between a mutual fund, an index fund, and an ETF? Because these are often used interchangeably, but they're a little bit different. They're very similar, but still different. Could you explain it?
Sure. Yeah. So they're kind of like cousins, but there's some similarities and some differences. And you can add in if there's anything I'm missing. But for the mutual funds, you go to one of your big banks, and a financial rep can sell you mutual funds, but and they follow the stock market. Usually they have a basket of different stocks, and it's like grouped together into one. So you're buying a bunch of different like, say, different companies all in one fund. So it's very convenient that way. The only thing with mutual funds is that they get a bad rap because of the fact that they tend to have 2 to 3% annual fees. And whether you're making money or losing money, there's the bank's still charging you these fees. And they could have management fees, other transaction fees, no load fees. There's just so many. And the thing is, in Canada, we don't typically have that transparency, not yet. So consumers don't even know that they're paying all of these hidden costs.
Okay.
And you can get a very similar fund, say Canadian equity, like investing in all the Canadian companies. You can get it in a mutual fund, or you can get it in an exchange traded fund. But the exchange traded fund, this one you can invest when the stock market is open, like during the day. You can trade in real time. Whereas like a mutual fund or index fund, you typically would trade at the end of the day or after hours. And with an exchange traded fund, there's typically the fees could be 0.05 to like 0.75, and that's kind of on the high range. So you're paying a fraction of the costs you can have the same type of funds, but at a reduced cost. And they say that in order to be financially successful, one of the best ways you can do that is to reduce your fees and your expenses in your portfolio. And the index fund, very similar to a mutual fund, but again, you can typically your bank will have an online firm, and you can buy index funds through your bank. But I think sometimes there could be minimums as well. So you have to ask your bank, like, if there's a certain minimum amount that you need. But with index funds, the great part is that usually you don't have to pay a transaction fee every time you're buying it. Whereas an exchange traded fund, you have to pay, say, $10 for every transaction, every time you buy or sell. So those fees can add up. So you have to really think about how often you're planning to buy and sell, because again, those fees could add up as well.
Well, I'm a buy and hold guy, so that's quite all right for me.
Mhm. That's
And I
great.
like to. I mean, I personally I have shared it on another podcast from Man Overseas. I have most of my stock portfolio is in ETFs and index funds, and but I like as well to dabble into stock picking, etc. Because then I go into the financials of the company, I go into the business, and probably this is linked back to my studies, but I really like to understand where the company is going, etc. And it gives
Hmm.
me as well confidence. It's not for everybody; it takes some time,
Hmm.
but I would recommend to do it anyway. And
Hmm.
talking about individual stocks, so yeah, I read your book. Thank you for the copy you provided to me. And you even talk about there's a chapter on, of course, on investing in the stocks, but there's even a chapter where you deal with cryptocurrencies and cannabis investing. So, of course, the cannabis investing is the first one I went to look at when I received your copy.
Hmm.
Cryptocurrency, I've already talked about it on the show, and I even had Ivan on Tech on the 7th of November in the podcast. So maybe we could talk a little bit about cannabis investing, because that's been a trend, especially you're from Canada. So I know it has been probably the first country in the world to legalize it. So doesn't that represent a huge potential for investors?
Yes, yeah. I mean, cannabis investing has been quite the hot topic. A lot of buzz around it the past year or two, and yeah, Canada has now legalized marijuana, and there's definitely been some polarized views on that. Um, and in terms of investing in the cannabis industry, I did interview Mark Noble from Horizons ETFs, as well as Stephen Chan from the Supreme Company, which is also a cannabis company. And, both of them have mentioned to me when I had interviewed them was the fact that, yes, like cannabis investing, it is definitely a growing industry. There's a lot of hype around it. And it's kind of like those days where Amazon was just coming out, and people want to be at the forefront of something revolutionary or
Hmm.
something big, right? They want to be at the front and see something grow, which is great. But people also need to look into the what's going on behind the scenes, right? To do their research, to understand the fundamentals of the companies. Like, are these cannabis companies, are they making money? Is there growth? And you have all these celebrities backing them up, but is it just smoke and mirrors? And and really, are they going to last even like 5 years from now? Because chances are there will probably be some companies that will fail, or they'll get bought out and there'll be mergers and acquisitions. So um, it's hard to say what's going to happen. No one really knows. But the companies that do succeed, I'm sure they will flourish and exceed all expectations. But there will be other companies who just won't survive.
Yeah.
And as an investor, um, I know people who have made a lot of money in cannabis investing, but then the next month they lose it all. And you can make, I don't even know, like double digits or maybe even triple digit returns, which is outrageous. Also great, but then you could lose it all. You can lose double or triple digits. So I would say that if it's something you really want to do, definitely take the time to do your research, understand the companies, what you're investing in, and to see if they have potential. And then also maybe just take a small portion of your portfolio, even if it's a couple $100 or very small percentage that you're willing to put into cannabis investing. And I call it fun money or play money that you'd be willing to lose, and just play around with it. And there's also marijuana ETFs, exchange traded funds, where you can buy, say, 20, 30 different marijuana companies in one fund, and um, and just track it from there. So, I mean, yeah, as long as you know what your limit is, and how much you're willing to tolerate with the very, very, very high volatility, then it's always it doesn't hurt to dabble in it, but I definitely wouldn't recommend putting all your life savings in and hoping that you can just retire
On
right away from it.
cannabis.
So yeah. So yeah, it's a very high risk industry. So just buyer beware. That's all.
Yeah, and maybe just something else. Tesla company, is that something you've been following or not? It's a topic that often comes at lunch with my colleagues, and the thing is, I have no real opinion on Tesla because I just haven't taken the time yet to go through the financials myself and to really read a few reports. I didn't do my research, so I have no. I feel it would be late to invest to benefit from the huge potential or the hype. So I don't know if for me today, I don't know because I haven't done I don't have a specific opinion on Tesla, but do you have one, or is it similar as to cannabis that it's an overhyped stock or not? I don't know.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. So I would say with Tesla, okay, I don't currently invest in Tesla. I do have flashback memories because I remember back in probably 2014, a friend of mine had said, "Oh, Tesla." I think it was valued it was currently at $100 a share. And he was like, "Yeah, like Tesla has so much potential. Like you should really look into it." But for me at the time, like back in 2014, even now, like I rarely ever invest in one stock, right? So now I think I don't even know what it's
I
valued at
think it's
today,
about
but probably at least
$400. I think
Oh my
something like this.
gosh, yeah. So I mean I could tell you now, hey, my friend was right. Like he told me in 20 yeah, probably 2013, 2014, that was $100, and if I had taken advice, I probably would make a lot of money right now. But I mean it's definitely gone through like just from hearing the news, like it's gone through ups and downs, and there's been a lot of controversy with Elon Musk and some of the things he says on Twitter. But I mean, I don't know, it's tough because it's really great that he's building all of this really innovative technology with SpaceX and really pushing the boundaries of electric cars, and just being able to transport people from place to place. I think that's fascinating. For me, I think just personally, I would love to own a Tesla. That would be like my investment. Probably not so much in the stocks, not so much shares, but and I do have a cousin who works at Tesla, so I just love the car brand and the Tesla itself. And my husband and I have actually test driven a Tesla a couple of times, and it's been on our dream board. And it's so funny because Tesla is not cheap, as you know, like it's a pretty penny, but then people who have one, they say it's amazing. And so there's a lot of potential there. And I remember we had a Tesla on our vision board as one of our goals that we wanted to achieve. And then after attending the FinCon conference in Washington a couple months ago, and everyone was talking about their financial independence date and how they want to retire early, and then we watched the documentary Playing with Fire. I don't know, were you there to see the film that at
No,
the conference,
I
Playing with
didn't
Fire?
attend that one.
Oh, okay. So basically, they document a couple trying to, they kind of downsize their lifestyle because they're living really extravagantly, and they downgraded and really changed the way that they started saving and investing, and they were trying to hit their financial independence number, and their date. And after watching that film, my husband and I turned to each other. We're like, "Oh, should we really get the Tesla?" We're like, "How many more years do we have to work our corporate jobs in order to have a Tesla?" So now we're kind of in this weird limbo. And then you have people like Ramit Sethi, who was a keynote speaker at a conference, who's like, eliminate all of your all the things you don't care about, but spend extravagantly on things you do. So we've got like these two different thoughts, like, "Oh, should we just spend really extravagantly on the Tesla and because we deserve it, or maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we just drive a cheap car."
But in your book you say, well, if if you're a car guy or if you really want something, you should go for it as well. So it looks like you're in Camp Ramit on the Tesla at least.
Yeah, I do. It is an amazing car, but do I own shares of it? Not at the moment. So yeah.
Okay. And Sandy, back to stocks or investing in general, is investing in stocks the only way to reach financial independence or to protect yourself in financially in retirement, or are there other ways to build wealth?
Yes, there's definitely other ways. I mean, I think that the most common way, and when I meet people or listen to podcasts of people who have already reached financial independence, I feel like the stock market is one of the most common ways to do so, because you could live off your dividends or your interest and whatnot. But for myself, my husband and I, we are also real estate investors. We currently have two condo units where we rent out to tenants, and then we have a third one coming up in the summer of 2021, and we're slowly growing our real estate investment portfolio because we feel that rental income is also a great way to have ongoing income. And also, when your property value increases over the long term, that will also help fund our retirement. And we just really enjoy real estate investing. I mean, it's one of our passions as well, and it's something that I'm actively learning and yeah, just learning more and practicing being a landlord is it's a lot of fun. I mean, still work, but real estate investing is different than stock market investing, but it's important in order to become a millionaire. Studies show that self-made millionaires have at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 streams of income. So it's important to diversify that as well.
Yeah, and you don't have headaches at night from your real estate. I mean, your properties. Like, for example, there's some leakage, or there's I don't know what. There's some problems with the neighbors. There's some noise. There's this and that. The washing machine to replace.
Oh my God, how did you know? That's so true. We did, like last year, one of our units experienced a flood from one of the floors above us. So we had some minor floorboard and baseboard damage that we had to get repaired. And then our washing machine was at least a decade old, so that was getting run down. So we had to buy a new washing machine a couple of months ago. So I mean, we do incur headaches, but fortunately enough, my husband and I, we support each other, and we problem solve these issues together. And we were using a property management company for a year just to kind of see if that was a good fit. But then, of course, with a property management company, they do take a portion of your rental income. And so we've decided to kind of take back the responsibility. And it is definitely more a hands-on approach. But for us, like we just think that it's a great opportunity to do real estate investing on a part-time basis for the time being, while still having our full-time careers and just being able to grow our multiple streams of income that way.
Yeah, excellent. And what would you say to somebody just starting out in his career or in his financial path? For example, somebody that is just 25 or 30. Would you say start with stocks or start with saving up for down payment for your apartment? Or what would you say to that person?
Wow. Okay. I mean, there could be definitely different scenarios with that. I think, yeah, it just really depends on the individual. It depends on where they live, like what city, because real estate in different cities or towns can vary drastically. Because for myself, living in Toronto, we have one of the most expensive real estate prices in all of Canada, pretty much, is either Toronto or Vancouver. So it's getting tougher and tougher for young professionals and millennials to become a homeowner. And it can be very tough. but I think it's a matter of setting a goal and setting a date, right? Really knowing like, when do you want to own a piece of real estate? What type of real estate do you want? And what are you going to use it for? Are you going to be living in it, starting a family, or are you going to rent it out, put it on Airbnb? So there's many ways to go about it. And depending on what type of property you get, you could live in it. And then also some people do house hacking where they rent out one of their bedrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of the stock market, I think there's a lot of misconception out there thinking people think like, oh, they need a lot of money in order to invest in the stock market. But you can start as a little as, say, $1,000 saved up, and you can put it into the stock market, buy an index fund, and then keep putting aside money into the index fund every single month, and then watching it grow. And I think that when you start off slowly and then you see your investment portfolio grow bit by bit, month by month, or if you get dividends from it, then it's encouraging, and then you build that confidence. And once you build that confidence, you can keep, you can do more research and grow your portfolio. And I think it's just a matter of starting.
Yeah.
And just knowing what your financial goals are. What do you want to do with the money that you earn, your extra income, and what kind of lifestyle that you want. So there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on what you want to achieve.
Okay. And did you start first with the real estate or first with stocks?
I started off with stocks first, but of course now hindsight is 2020, and I wish I had purchased a condo unit, say 10 years ago, because it would have, oh my gosh, it probably would have like tripled in value by now. So I'm jealous of my friends who did do that. But I mean, hey, it's better late than never, and there's always going to be golden nuggets of opportunity in whether it's the stock market or in real estate. There's always opportunities. It's just a matter of whether you're prepared for it and you've done your research and you know what you're looking for. So,
yeah, excellent. Thank you, Sandy. And then I was just curious about where this. What was your financial journey? I mean, what was how did you grow up? What money lessons did you learn when you grew up from your parents, from your entourage, from your school friends?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, for me, it was, I definitely, had quite of a challenging upbringing. My family, we were probably more on the low income family class. And my father, he worked in the restaurant industry. He worked as a chef in various Chinese restaurants, and he worked very hard. And sometimes he would juggle 2 jobs, working full time, like nonstop. And working in the restaurant industry as a chef can be very tiring and exhausting. My mother, my late mother, she had severe mental health issues, and she struggled carrying a full-time job. So she was a homemaker, and she took care of me and my sister. And so it was a struggle, because my father would be the sole provider for our family, and we did have food on the table, but we never went on any family vacations. And just trying to make ends meet day to day. But my father was very diligent with his money. He kept track of all the accounting and the books, and making sure that all the bills were paid on time. But we didn't really splurge on anything extravagant. So it was a struggle. And my mother being mentally ill, sometimes she would take some of my father's hard-earned money and just donate to charity, which, I mean, it's great to donate to a good cause, but then sometimes she would just spend money frivolously. So even though it wasn't her earning the money, so it was really bizarre growing up, because my mother depended on my father's income, but then she would just donate it or just buy random expensive things, and so there was that struggle, and we didn't have too much. We just had the necessities, and so even when I was 14, I started working cash jobs because legally in Canada, you can't start working until you're 16. So I knew very early on as a teenager that I had to earn my own money. And I had various part-time jobs throughout high school, throughout university, and I paid off my own student tuition, partly from working summer jobs during university, and then also working hard in my educational career to earn scholarships and bursaries to help pay for that. So for me, like I knew to become financially independent because I wasn't really relying so much on the bank of mom and dad there, which I think was important for me to learn at a young age, that how much I had to work to, say, buy nice clothes or go to the movies with my friends or go to birthday parties, things like that. So
yeah, you learned to work for it, and I see.
yeah. And then, from there, my dad just told me, it's not so much how much you earn, but also how much you save. And that really stuck with me to know that I always had to put money aside for a rainy day, because you never know if you ever come through and come across life emergencies. And so, it was from there. I just put matters into my own hands and started learning how to become financially responsible.
Yeah, I understand. I see. Well, that's quite a story. And then in your book, you talk as well about habits, that habits are important. This is a theme I really like. And I just wanted to ask you, Sandy, for example, do you have 2 or 3 habits that you practice that can help build wealth, or that can help you save money, for example?
Yes. In terms of habits, oh gosh, sometimes it's kind of like automated now, right?
Yes.
But in terms of, like, one of them would be that every 2 weeks when I get paid from my full-time job, I have it automated where I set aside several $100s from my checkings account, and it goes right to my savings account. And I have an Excel file, which I know sounds very sexy, but I have an Excel file that keeps track of how much I'm saving on an annual basis, and then how much I project to save every single year up until, say, 65, to make sure I'm on track. And then my husband and I, because we're married and we have joint expenses, so we make sure that we keep track of our monthly joint expenses. And then we also have to keep track of our rental income. And what else? We keep track to make sure that we're meeting our investment goals. So in Canada, we have a RRSP, which is a registered retirement savings plan, and a TFSA, which is the tax-free savings account. And just to check in on our investment portfolios from time to time to make sure that they're stable, or if they're out of balance, we need to rebalance them every 6 months or annually, and just to have conversations about it, because I think in society we're not having enough conversations about money, and that's why people fight over it and they stress out about it. But I think that when you're proactive, you have your financial documents in order, you make sure that you're keeping track of your goals and making adjustments along the way, then those are good habits to have.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all of them, Sandy. That's excellent. And then, Sandy, I think we are coming at the end of the show, and before we leave, of course, I have my 3 quick fire questions. So, number 1, what is your best investment so far, Sandy?
I would say that my best investment so far has been to invest in my own education. And I have been doing that by attending conferences, networking events, meeting people who work in the personal finance industry, and just really understanding what the trends are. Mm-hmm. I spend my spare time reading personal finance books, listening to podcasts, and just educating myself. And I think that it's important to have a philosophy of forever learning, especially since nowadays technology and advancements are just changing at such a rapid pace.
Yeah, and it's this reminds me the forever learning. It's like sharpening the saw. Like one of the habits of the highly effective people of Stephen Covey. So Yeah, very. I absolutely agree with that. Second, what is actually talking about books? What is your favorite book that you would recommend to anyone, and it does not need to be financial?
Okay. I recommend one of my favorite books I read recently is Rachel Hollis, and she's come out with two books. One was called Girl Wash Your Face, and then the second one that came out recently is Girl Stop Apologizing. And I think it's really important for women to really dig deep into I guess understanding like what helps motivate them in life and to figure out what their goals are. And Rachel Hollis is a really good motivational and self-help speaker, and she's gone on tour with Tony Robbins, which is totally awesome. I just really love her message, and she just really speaks the truth. And I think that for any woman who's looking for a really great motivational book, Rachel Hollis is the one to follow.
Okay, very good. I didn't know about her. Okay, I'll check it out as well, and I'll link it all up in the show notes for the listeners. And then the last questions. I have changed my question actually, Sandy. Now my new question is, what is the best purchase you made for under $100?
Oh, okay. Under $100. Okay. One of my favorite purchases that I made under $100 would be the 5-minute journal for my husband and I. And 5-minute journal is daily journaling where you spend the time in the morning to reflect on the things that you're grateful for, what goals you want to achieve for the day, and you also do your daily affirmations, like I am statements. So things that you see yourself envisioning in the future, but you say in I am, like present tense, to envision yourself having already achieved that. And at night, right before you go to bed, you read through what you've written in the morning, and then you reflect on what are the 3 amazing things that you've accomplished today, and how could you have made today even better. And I think the books were like less than $30 each, and it lasts for 6 months. And we've been doing this probably for close to 5 months now. And it's really helped to provide us focus in our day-to-day activities. It gives us gratitude for the things that we already have in our life, and just the small things. When someone does something nice for you, and just to appreciate things in life, and just puts us in a more positive mood. And I think it's a really great tool to have, and anyone can pick it up and start doing daily journaling, and it just helps to clear your mind.
No, very good, and it's a bit of investing in yourself as well. Huh?
Yes, that's right.
No, excellent. And Sandy, actually, I've been mentioning the book, and what we talk here on the show comes mostly from the book and your story and your findings during 10 years of experience. So can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so my book is called The Money Master: Inside Secrets on How to Make Your Money Grow and Stay Safe. It has just gone to print, so it should be released sometime in the new year of 2020. For my book, I talk about ways that you can create multiple streams of income, whether it's stock market investing, real estate investing, and also to become an entrepreneur, because nowadays there's so many people out there having side hustles and turning that into their full-time careers from that. So I talk about that, and I focus mainly on female millennials who want to grow their investments and to become financially independent from that. I have also, as you mentioned, interviewed several financial industry experts, such as Alan Roseman from the Toronto Star, Gloria Young from Remax Real Estate, and Mark Noble from Horizons ETFs. I'm also super proud to be partnering with a fabulous mental health organization called CAMH, the Center of Addiction and Mental Health. here in Canada. So every book purchase, I will personally donate $2 to this wonderful charity so that they can spearhead mental health research and to help those families who have been impacted. And for your listeners of Joni Talks, if you want to learn more about my book or my website, you can go to sandyyong.com. That's spelled SANDYYONG.com. And if you sign up for my newsletter, I will be sure to send you a copy of my book.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Sandy. That's great.
You're welcome.
Oh, excellent. So, Sandy, thank you so much for joining the show and for all your valuable tips on investing and in stocks and in real estate, and as well for sharing your stories. I really appreciate it. It was a great show. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Jonathan, for having me. I had an amazing time.
Well, Sandy, I had an amazing time as well, and I hope you too, and that you learned something from our conversation. And here are my quick takeaways for you. And here's the first one. There are essentially 3 ways to invest in the stock markets. That is self-directed investing. This is the most cost-effective way. You set your own portfolio and then you go to an online broker, for example. This is what I do. Number 2, you can invest through a financial planner or an advisor. This is typically where you go to a bank or another financial institution. And number 3, the robo-advisors. I am not too familiar with them because I don't use them, simply because I do the self-directed investing. I have listed a few companies in the show notes, such as Wealthfront or Betterment in the US, and I've listed a few companies in Europe. But yeah, do your own research before you use them and see if it's something for you. Another great point that came out of our conversation with Sandy is that she started to read books and get more knowledgeable into the finance world. She read books from financial experts, from experienced investors such as Warren Buffett or David Lynch, etc. And it is pretty simple. The more educated you are in the field, here finance, the more comfortable you will become to start investing. And then actually you will realize that it was not hard in the first place. The thing is that banks or financial companies, institutions will make it look and sound complicated to invest in the stock markets, to enter in the finance world with complicated wording and specific jargon, because they want to appear as experts to you so they can sell the products where they get a commission on and get a piece of the cake as well. So do yourself and myself a favor, set a goal of reading 2 or 3 good financial books in 2020, and your knowledge will be far superior than anyone at your local bank. Another key point to bear in mind when investing is to not follow the news, or I should say the hype, around certain trends or specific stocks. For example, Tesla is one that makes the headlines every time. We also recently had the cannabis stocks, etc., cryptocurrencies. I mean, these can be fantastic ideas, and I'm sure that early investors have gained exponential returns. That's not a problem, but it's just like, don't buy into the stocks just because everybody's talking about it in the news, around you, etc. Do your own research and see if it's something for you or not, and see if you can tolerate the risk. Another common wrong belief about investing in the stock markets is that it is like gambling. This is totally wrong in my opinion, as I said during the episode, but I understand where it comes from. It comes from movies, from media, from headlines in the newspaper, etc., which helps to perpetrate this image. And the last misconception for investing is that it's often mistaken for trading. And both approaches are fine as long as you know what you're getting into. So that was it for today. Thank you so much for listening. It really means a lot to me. Make sure you subscribe in Apple Podcast. And of course, please do not hesitate to contact me. If you have any questions or feedback, send me an email, john@johnnytalks.com, or connect through social media at Johnny Talks on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And amigos, once more, thanks so much for listening, and I'll speak to you next time.